So there's a new patch and it's actually some changes for Samira, mostly because IE has been changed, so I'm just going to go over like the patch notes or just the things that will affect Samira. I'm quickly going over the nerfs and buffs. I don't think it matters too much. Nautilus got a little bit of a buff, that's pretty nice if you're maybe duo queuing with a Nautilus bot lane. If the Nautilus is on your team, that's pretty nice. Also, Lulu has been nerfed, which is actually really good for Samira because Samira does really poorly into Lulu, so seeing less Lulu is pretty good. I'm not gonna lie though, I'm pretty sure Lulu was turbo broken and now she's just slightly less broken but still broken. But maybe we get to see her a little bit less. It's probably still pretty ban worthy. They buffed and nerfed a few other champions, I don't think any of these really matter too much. They kinda tried to adjust Elise so she's no longer viable or like a bit weaker in support, but her win rate looks the exact same. So I don't think that mattered at all. Thanks Riot. Lulu Elise every game. Yay. So the biggest change for us this patch is that they adjusted Infinity Edge. They made it 5 less AD, but they made it 150 gold cheaper. This is supposed to be a buff in a way. This was mainly done because they want AD carries to get their spikes earlier, their Infinity Edge earlier into the game, which sounds pretty good. I don't think we care much about the 5 AD, I'd rather just have an early game or like an earlier Infinity Edge to snowball faster. Sounds good to me. So yeah, the components of IE are the exact same, just the final build is 150 gold cheaper. You will lose 5 AD compared to the old one. They actually made Mercury threads a bit cheaper. These are the MR boots that help you get CC'd less, or like for a shorter duration. They made these 50 gold cheaper as well. So in theory, if you're going Infinity Edge and Mercury threads in your build, you're saving about 200 gold, which is nice. They actually nerfed plated Steelcaps, which is not great for us because we actually buy these boots from time to time, but indirectly if people have a worse plated Steelcaps, we are doing more damage overall to them. So sucks if you want to buy this item, but good if enemies buy it. They dropped the damage reduction by 2%, so technically we got a 2% damage buff. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the Samir items. There are some changes to tank items and stuff, which is pretty good because tanks are broken, but those are all the Samir items that got changed. So now you're probably wondering, what do I build, what do I do? And I think the build is overall pretty much the same. A lot of people have been building BT first item a bit more. I think this is a very solid first item, especially if you're playing mid lane Samira like me. I get it pretty often when I feel like I just need to sustain. Not really sure when you get it bot lane, but even some people are buying it bot lane. Some Korean challenger Samira players do get this as a first item from time to time. The win rate on IE Rush seems just not too good. It doesn't sound like we should be doing that. I'm pretty sure we are still just keeping Infinity Edge as a second or a third item. You could rush it, but not building a collector or not building a BT feels kinda bad. The win rate also says that BT into IE is also kinda bad. BT into collector into IE looks a lot better win rate wise, and also in my opinion just feels better. The best build currently that in my opinion feels the best and has the highest win rate overall in like 20,000 games is collector into Infinity Edge, into then kind of looking what you need in that game. It can be a BT, it can be a Lord Dominic's, it can be a shield bow. If you need the damage, you obviously go Lord Dominic's. If you need survivability, I personally would recommend going Bloodthirster. But I think this is kind of just preference and kind of just looking what you need in your specific game. Just to sum it up one more time, in my opinion, the ideal and best build, you can switch it around depending on when you need survivability, but the best build is collector into IE, into Lord Dominic's, into like a BT, into a shield bow. I still want to mention Hubris. I think Hubris is still a really good item. If you think you can snowball the game and just stomp, a Hubris scales really well. It gives you a lot of AD. Sometimes I'm looking at Hubris late game and it's giving me like 130 AD, which is insane. The win rate on the dispatch does not look very good, but nothing really changed, and last patch it did look good. So it might just be like the small sample size that makes it look kinda bad. But Hubris is, I'm pretty sure, a pretty viable item. So now for the boots, where there were a couple changes. This is going to be a bit weird because it's probably different for bot lane than it is for mid lane. I'm going to start with bot lane. So like I said earlier, plated Steelcaps got nerfed. So ideally you don't really want to buy these boots. The win rate on it doesn't look that good, but sometimes you just need to. If you feel like you need the armor to survive here, it's still a fine buy. But I feel like most of the time you are better off just looking at the overall comp and kind of deciding there what's better, Mercs, armor boots, or Swifties. And I feel like the answer 99% of the time is Mercs or Swifties. I feel like the armor boots rarely make a difference and it's more the CC that screws you over. So yeah. Mercs on the other hand, they got a little bit cheaper and the win rate on it looks really good. Which makes me think it's really good. Because if you're buying Mercs, it means you're into a CC comp, and Samira doesn't do well into CC. So if the win rate on it is good despite being into a CC comp, makes me think like these boots are a decent, like a really decent buy right now. Then there's also swiftness boots, which are always just really good in general. I think these are better mid lane than bot lane, because bot lane you're probably playing with setup and engage like a Nautilus or a Rel or whatever. But mid lane, these are almost essential or like needed. You can't really almost play it without them, because they just massively change your gameplay. You can really stick onto the mages this way, you can kite out certain champions, you can run away from ganks a bit easier. These boots are just really good overall, they're cheap, very good for mid lane. But of course for mid lane you can also still swap to a Mercs or play the Steelcaps if you feel like you need to. Berserkers boots are a grief, don't buy these on Samira ever, seems kinda pointless. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the items. So I'm going to quickly go over the runes as well. Nothing really changed that much for the runes. We realistically only have 2 pages. We have either an electrocute page or a conqueror page, and I feel like the electrocute page is only good for mid lane. It just makes sense mid lane. I personally play mid lane only, and an electrocute just really matches with what you want to do mid lane. You're looking for short trades, you're looking to chunk their health bar until they're low enough for you to kind of all in. This is a really good page mid lane that I pretty much take every single game. If you're into a beefy tanky comp, you still just go conqueror, but overall electrocute feels better in mid lane. Bot lane, however, I would not take this. This makes more sense into the 1v1, not really in the 2v2 or like when you're not really going for short trades, but more of an all-in with your Nautilus or Rel. It's probably playable, but you're probably better off just going Conqueror. So now about the secondary page, I'm still a really like big Sun Impact believer. This rune feels really good. The win rate on it has been really good for the past multiple patches. The win rate actually looks insane on it, despite having like an insane sample size as well of like 20,000 games every time. I really like Sun Impact. I think this is one of the best runes for Samira there is. Not really sure about the second tree. You can kind of just pick whatever here. It doesn't really matter that much. You don't pick it for this side. And then your usual option is just Treasure Hunter, but you can also go for Relentless Hunter. It's probably not terrible. Then there's the Sorcery secondary tree where you can go either Axiom Arc, Absolute Focus, or Gathering Storm. Personally, mid lane, I don't really like Axiom Arcanist. I feel like most of my kills are pre-level 6, so this doesn't really do much for me. I'd rather go Sun Impact and just kind of win the early game. But you can take this as a scaling rune. You can take Axiom Arcanist plus Gathering Storm. You can take Absolute Focus plus Gathering Storm. I'm pretty sure Axiom Arcanist is better to scale with just Gathering Storm than Absolute Focus. But all of these are pickable, kind of. So just again to sum this up, because I got kind of flamed last time. No, not really flamed, but you can take Axiom Arcanist to scale. It's fine with Gathering Storm. This is a fine rune page. Personally, I prefer Domination secondary. The Resolve tree, I used to think this was a decent like defensive rune page, but I kind of feel now that if you're playing a defensive rune page, why don't we just take the scaling rune page instead? So I'm not really a big fan of Resolve anymore. You can still take it, but why take that when you can just play safe and take Axiom Arc and Gathering Storm instead and scale for free? That just seems better. I will mention this as well. There's been, I don't know who's playing this, but there's a decent sample size of people playing Magical Footwear, Cookies, or Cosmic Insight. Win rate on it looks pretty good. I don't know who's trying this, but I might have to try it out. It looks actually pretty decent win rate wise. For the minor rune stones, you can kind of take everything. It doesn't really matter that much. I would not take the CDR in the first tree ever. I wouldn't really take the health in the second one, I think it is. That one is pretty bad as well. But the rest is all pretty viable. So yeah, that's pretty much all the changes for this patch. To sum it up, IE is cheaper, some of the boots have been a bit changed, runes are pretty much the same, some people are rushing BT first and it looks pretty decent. Lulu got nerfed, screw you Lulu players, at least got changed even though it's still broken. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for watching, I hope you enjoyed. If you did enjoy the video, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe.